Okay, this is the 8th time that I've tried to record this. I guess you can call it a rant. And I'm trying to make it coherent. And I want this off my chest. I want it out there. And I want people to know that this is how I stand on things. Okay, let's try to make this reasonable. I read every single comment that I get on on Relics of Hyrule, on my videos. I read every single one as long as I know about it. Sometimes I'm not notified for whatever reason. It just slips through the cracks. But I read every single comment. And I tried my best to respond. I try my best to respect people's requests. I try to respect people's criticisms. But here's the thing. This is what the hero's clothes look like in Relics of Hyrule. This is what they have always looked like. This is what they will always look like. I may change a few things about them in the future. Anything that I do will actually make them look less like how they do in Zelda. I'm saying this because Relics of Hyrule is not about remaking Zelda. It's not about making Skyrim into a Zelda game. I'm trying to tell a story here. I'm trying to connect Zelda and Skyrim in a way that respects both, makes something new out of both. I'm not trying to make it so that you can cosplay as Link in Skyrim. No disrespect to anybody who wants to do that. No disrespect to the mods that let you do that and that are built to let you do that. But I personally think that it is not worth it to try to perfectly replicate Zelda in Skyrim because there are so many Zelda games and it's pointless to try to remake Zelda in the Skyrim engine because Skyrim is not Zelda. Now, when I first released the Hero's Clothes, it was the first armor mod I had ever made. I had worked for 2 weeks on the Zora, Goron, and Kokiri tunics. I worked my ass off on the hats. I borrowed meshes from people. I worked my ass off on the boots. I worked my ass off on the gauntlets. And I released them during a very harsh, hard time in my life. I was going through college without any idea what the hell I was doing. I felt trapped, and Skyrim mods sort of helped me through that rough time, and I was doing my best. First comment I got on the Hero's Clothes was very positive. They liked what I did. They thought it was good. Second comment was awful. They picked apart every single thing about my mod. Every single thing about the thing that I had worked for 2 weeks on. This is the worst possible thing that could have happened. I released them at like midnight or something, and I'm like, okay, it's time to go to bed. Then I got that comment, and I stay up until 2 o'clock. As though I owed this person something. I didn't owe this person anything. I was apologetic. I said I would make another version based on the miner's clothes. I was gonna throw out the hero's clothes. Do I think they're good? I do. I think these are really good. Maybe I'm biased. Maybe it's because I made them. Maybe it's because I worked for 2 weeks on them and they've been in a mod that I've for years. I look at the hero's clothes and I say I made those. They turned out really well for what I was working with. I was working with a mesh that Bethesda had abandoned. They had left it in the Skyrim BSA. It wasn't even finished. And I used it and put it in a mod. This is a mesh that was never meant to be used, and I managed to use it. So I know that what I should be feeling is nothing. I shouldn't care. And what I should have done when this person was being an asshole to me, being patronizing, telling me that maybe armor wasn't my strong suit and I shouldn't work on it anymore. I should have ignored them, but instead I humored them. But it's not my fault, and it wasn't fair of them to tell me these things. It's not fair to jump to criticism. Not everything needs to be criticized. Not everything needs to be perfect. I think there's a serious problem with the internet and this culture of criticism, this culture of hatred, disrespect, and ignorance that there is a human being on the other end of the computer that you are just ripping apart. Am I overreacting? Probably, but it's just not fair. It's not healthy. But in the end, I held my ground, and the hero's clothes are now one of the things that I defend. And it's because of the hero's clothes that when I got a message that was very similar, picking apart every single thing about Relics of Hyrule that was quote-unquote wrong, I fought back. I said that I defended myself. And they didn't seem to know that they had come off like an idiot and an asshole and an ignorant, stupid person who has nothing better to do with their time than to pick apart a single insignificant mod for a game. So I always fight back. If you are nasty to me, I will be nasty to you. When I released the Fierce Deities armor, and people didn't like the belts, my first instinct was to say, go to hell. That's just how it is. And then they could have been a little more diplomatic about it, but they donated reworked meshes for the Fierce Deities armor. And I accepted them. Like I said, they could have been a little more diplomatic about it. They could have been a little nicer about it. But I still accepted them. If somebody wants to make a quote-unquote better mesh for the hero's clothes that gets rid of the barrel chest, by all means, do. I will gladly accept it. But there's no reason to criticize every single thing. I think that's it. I think that's enough. There's nothing else for me to say about the hero's clothes. Just keep in mind that I take this mod very seriously. I have a very specific vision about it. And there are some things in the mod that will not change. And no matter how many comments that I get that tell me that the hero's gauntlets should be fingerless gloves and not bracers, no matter how many times somebody tells me that the hero's clothes are ugly, no matter how many times I get comments about the scarf on the hero's clothes, they will not change. The Master Sword is not going to change. There's nothing that will change about it. And the hero's clothes are staying exactly the way they are. And that's that. So thank you for listening to this sort of addendum that went on for way too long. If you use Relics of Hyrule, I hope you enjoy it. If you don't, that's fine. No skin off my back. But thank you very much for listening. And I'm going to sign off and go to sleep.